Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Carmen Bryant. How are you guys doing? Car Chronicles. You guys see the beautiful, crisp sun in the beautiful, it's like 40 degrees here in the great Northwest. Love it. You guys ready? Let's do this. Some of you are with narcissists and you know it. Some of you with narcissists and you don't know it. Some of you are with malignant narcissists and you know it. And some of you don't know it. Some of you are in denial. Some of you are with abusers. Some of them are not physically abusing you, and some of them are. Some of them, well, all of them mentally abuse, but not all of them physically abuse. And a lot of you may be in denial. You have what's called learned helplessness. Not all of you, but some of you. You have gotten to a point where you have learned helplessness. What is learned helplessness? It is a psychological phenomenon where you have been going through stress and trauma over and over and over again, but you can't control your environment. You can't control the events. You can't control, or you think you have lost control of what is happening around you and what is happening to you. You feel like you can't change the situation. And so what happens is you've given up trying. You've given up trying to change the situation. But as many of you know, you have followed me on my channel, you have listened to other influencers that talk about narcissist abuse. You cannot, even with just in abuse in general, you can never change the other person. And if you stay in that environment, you are in their playing field. So you can't change anything about them. They're not going to change. They are who they are. They are what they are. Narcissists are narcissists, abusers are abuser. The thing about it is that you have to change your mind. You have to change your perspective. Let me tell you a little bit about learned helplessness. At this particular time while I'm on TikTok, I can't recall the researcher's name. Some of you guys do know what I'm talking about, but back in the day, I think it was like in 1967 or something like that, there was a researcher, I think psychiatrist or psychologist, not sure, but a researcher who had these dogs, some of you guys know the story, had these dogs in these cages, and they didn't give them an opportunity to get out. And what happened was the bottom of the cages were electrified, whatever it was, and they would turn them on and shock the dogs. So now the dog's instinct is to try to get out of the cage, so they fought to try to get out of this cage. But what happened is that the more they were shocked and the less they could get out of the cage, they stopped fighting. And so what ended up happening is every time they were shocked, they would just stand there and take it. They got depressed. These dogs were anxious. And then when the opportunity arose where they had the opportunity of getting out of the cage, they didn't even fight to get out of the cage anymore. They just stood there and took it. For some of you, you are facing this right now. You have become helpless. You have learned to become helpless. You don't know how much power you really have and how much support is really out there. Some of you have lost hope even in the agencies that help. Go to part 2. Hello, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Car Chronicles, and we're talking about learned helplessness. This is part 2. So in part 1, I explained to you the experiment that the researcher did with the dogs that were in the cage. They were being shocked and trying to get out of the cage, but they were shocked. They were going through enough trauma that they became anxious and depressed, but it got to a point where the dogs weren't even trying to jump out of the cages anymore. And so they just stood there and took these electric shocks. These poor dogs took these electric shocks. But think about it. We say poor dogs, but the same thing is happening to a lot of you. You've been in the situation for so long that you can't control the environment. You can't control your situation. So you have taught yourself to tolerate it. There's nothing I can do. You've lost hope even in the system itself and trying to get help. On my TikTok, you see I have a link for therapy, where you can get 10% off if you connect to betterhelp.com and use my name. And there's also the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They will connect you with a domestic violence advocate in your area. Now, some of you come from places you and the narcissist have grown up in. Everybody knows you. The town is small, or you may be in a city, but people just know the families. They know you. You've grown. You feel helpless because my mother has went through this. My grandmother went through this. You can look back in generation. My aunts, my uncles have been through this, and you look through your family and everybody has gone through this. You've lost hope in thinking that your situation is just the same. No one has ever escaped from it. So why are you going to escape from it? Well, you are the change maker. You are the person that can get out of a situation. you are a person that can make this happen for you. You've grown helpless because you love this individual and you are hoping to change them. You cannot change an abuser. There's nothing that they will do. Some of you, are afraid to even go call the police, especially with this, the situation with the police brutality and, the black and brown communities, and that's understandable. But you much rather be unalive than to protect yourself and your children when you can make a phone call, when you can have that person arrested. Yes, it is not your responsibility, because they'll turn around and tell you it's your fault that I'm in jail. It's your fault that this happened. No, they made those decisions. And a narcissist will always make you feel like it is your fault. No, it is their fault because they have made the decision to abuse and misuse you. And your children are sitting there watching, and they were repeating the cycle. When they get older, they're going to repeat what they saw, and it gets worse. So you got to reach out and get help. You can break this cycle.